From ghosts to scary creatures, here are 4 true scary encounters. These stories are a compilation of earlier videos which now sounds very crappy. We just started out, so please don't mind. Also, if you are new to our channel and you like scary stories, please help support us by subscribing and hit the bell for future scary stories. Thanks a lot, guys. And also thank you for helping us reach 60+ subscribers. It means a lot to us. So let's begin. It was a perfect day fishing, and we had caught a substantial amount of fish. The river was miles away from civilization, and there were no means of transportation except for your own 2 legs. This was because the river was located downhill and there were no roads. The only way down was a narrow winding track. It was about 5 p.m. when we started to head back home, and by that time it was starting to get dark. This was during the month of November 2018. It was a long trek back home. We had to climb back uphill in order to get back to civilization, and it took us several hours. But the funny thing was that the scary encounter did not take place in the winding uphill deserted part of the forest. We reached civilization at around 11 p.m. We were almost home. There was this narrow stretch of road with fir trees on both sides, and in the distance you can hear a small stream. Not even a minute passed, my friend and I heard a giggle. It sounded like a girl child coming from the direction of the stream. We shined our flashlights towards the direction only to find nothing. Shining our lights back on the road, and we saw her, or it. It looked like a little girl with a rugged old white gown, maybe 7 or 8 years old. She was facing her back towards us. We couldn't see her face. My friend asked her, "What are you doing here in the middle of the..." But before he could complete, we both noticed something strange. Even though she had her back towards us, her feet, which was also supposed to face front, but instead they were pointed towards us. This happened to my grandmother when she was in her early teens, out with other girls from the village going about their weekly task, doing laundry in the nearby river. They were escorted by their pet dog. For some reason, the others were back at the shore, probably drying the clothes on rocks or something. They were just an earshot away, but their distant giggles over some gossip could still be heard. The occasional slamming of clothes on rocks was the only thing that broke the otherwise peaceful sounds from the river flowing and birds chirping overhead. But the calmness was suddenly interrupted by the barking of the companion dog. Thinking nothing of it, my grandmother ignored the barking of the dog, but the barks intensified, followed by aggressive snarling. Curious and alarmed now, she turned towards the dog and followed his gaze towards the distant boulders that bulged from the river. Shocked at what she was seeing, this thing or this creature had its gaze fixed on her. It wasn't normal. It was humanoid, but it was huge. It had only one eye on its forehead, and no eyes elsewhere. She felt a chill run through her body, even under the scorching sun. She gathered every courage she had left and screamed to her friends, calling out to them horrified at what she had just witnessed. As her friends came to her aid, she pointed towards the direction, but as cliché as it may sound, the creature had vanished. This happened during the monsoon of 2019. We were out fishing at a river which apparently was located in the northeastern part of India. It turned out to be a bright and sunny day. This was good news as our mode of transportation were Royal Enfields. And like I mentioned, it was during the monsoon season. But there's a saying, never celebrate too early. My friend, let's call him David, was well prepared as I was with our raincoats. Not even an hour passed. Surely enough, the dark clouds were upon us. Thunder and lightning accompanied the dark clouds. In the next minute, it rained heavily, and all we could do was just sit idly on the banks of the river and stare at our fishing lines out in the water. We were out of luck. No fish today, David said. Several hours passed and the rain finally stopped, but at that time it was getting dark. We decided to try our luck one last time. David was fishing downstream not too far from where I was. I heard walking from the bushes behind me, and it sounded close. I turned to my side, not exactly facing back. And in the corner of my eye, I saw a silhouette of a man, and he asked, "Any luck?" I responded with a no and explained about the rain that interrupted us. He agreed. I thought maybe he was also fishing in the area. Suddenly, David approached me and asked, "Who were you talking to?" I told him about this man who was just passing by. He interrupted me, saying he witnessed me talking to myself. Apparently, he had heard me when I was conversing and thought maybe I was on my cell phone. I explained that there was a man who was walking just behind me and asked me if we had caught anything. We both searched the area only to find no one, even though the short conversation happened just seconds ago. This happened to my grandfather in around the 1960s. Hailing from a poor family and belonging to the most remotest part of India, he went out to town for supplies. The nearest town was miles away, and back then the only means of transportation were your own two legs. He had reached town and it took him about 4 hours to get there. When he was done, he headed back home to his village, walking the long distance, venturing through hills, woods, and crossing rivers and streams. There were no roads for vehicles back then. Several hours of walking made him hungry, thirsty, and tired. He finally reached his village around 10 p.m. He stopped at a paddy field not far from home. My grandfather was fond of tobacco, so he took out his pipe and started smoking, relaxing and gazing at the night sky. It was a peaceful and pleasant night. Across the paddy field there was a small stream, which was not too wide, and the reflection of the moon could be seen in it. It was beautiful. The silence of the night was then disturbed by the sound of ripples from the stream. The moon, being the only source of light, shined at the water, and the ripples suddenly turned to whirlpools. And in a split second, this huge creature arose from the water. According to my grandfather's description, this creature appeared reptilian. It was 25 or 30 times bigger than an average crocodile. He mentioned that this creature was standing on its 2 feet with its arms stretched out. And it resembled a dragon, which could be, or maybe some sort of Loch Ness monster. At the sight of the creature, my grandfather was frozen. It seemed like the creature was stretching out its arms upwards as if it had just woken up from a deep sleep. Not even a minute passed, it went back down below and disappeared. My grandfather became unconscious after that. He woke up the next morning and lived to tell the tale.